Well, I'm getting the sense that where it's 2014 all over again. They start 1-2, they finish with 10 wins, they find a way in an ACC that's topsy-turvy. I think Dabo is having the most fun when he feels as if the world is against him. And he needs to be reminded that we are referring to Clemson like we had been referring to Clemson for 130 years. They had won one national championship with Coach Ford in 1981, and then he showed up, and he's right. He recited all the stats and then needs to tell everybody he doesn't actually listen to what you or I have to say. And I'm going, it sounds like it, dog, because you're out there like the SID telling me how many times you've been to the playoff, how many times you've been to a national championship game, how many times you won the conference, how many times that you have won 9 games or more. I think the way in which he's doing it works for him. That's it. Do I think that it's going to be better for them to be unranked and then figure out who they are, and then by November we're talking about them? Yes. But it's got to a point where I don't really pay much attention to what Dabo is saying in September. By October, Tyler from Spartanburg will be on the line. He'll tell him to come down and coach the team if he wants to. And then all of a sudden they end up in the ACC championship game because Miami can't finish against Syracuse and they're in the playoffs. So I put him down in September. They'll figure it out.
I'm with you. Okay. Most people know, not just from your time on here, but if they listen to the number one podcast, you are an aficionado for Oklahoma football. This is a gigantic week for OU, right? They start this unbelievable gauntlet of remaining games where only one, I think, unranked team, actually South Carolina now, but that's still going to be a beast of a game when they play South Carolina. But it's unique because Auburn's beaten Baylor at Baylor. People think Auburn's pretty good. Maybe more importantly, the last heir apparent, Jackson Arnold, is now quarterback for Auburn. The new heir apparent to the Heisman Trophy potential number 1 overall pick is John Mateer, right, who's the current quarterback at Oklahoma. So you got all this different stuff. What do you think of this weekend's game in Norman?
I think the winner has a very strong argument to make the college football playoff. That's what I think. I think both of them will have a marquee victory. Oklahoma, you might argue, already has one with their defeating Michigan, who was a top 15 team at the time. They did that at Owen Field. Auburn gets to come to Owen Field. They get a win against a top 15 Oklahoma. We got to talk about Auburn as being for real in the SEC. I'm not prepared to say either one of these teams is going to win the conference championship because Georgia still runs this league until such a time as somebody can dethrone them, and Tennessee couldn't do that. I'm more interested in a couple of things inside of Oklahoma as they are reflected in what Auburn's going to do, if you'll allow me. So Brent Venables is a defensive coach, and he is calling the defense. There is no bones about that. They have 0 takeaways through 3 games, which is very un-Brent Venables-like. I mean, even last year, they had a takeaway or two before things went off the rails. They've been actually pretty decent in as far as stopping people from scoring, and they don't like to have people score. Even when the offense turns the ball over inside the low red zone, they take pride in being able to bow up. Jackson Arnold, you'll know, has fumbled the football 8 times and thrown 3 interceptions in an Oklahoma uniform. And if anybody knows how that guy is unraveled, it is Brent Venables, who's going to send 6, who's going to send 7. He's coming after him, and he's going to force Jackson Arnold to make the kinds of plays that we wanted him to make last year that he just couldn't. RPO reads were not there. He needed to tuck it and go. He's a dynamic runner, and I think this is going to test Hugh Freeze, who wants to push the ball downfield. He's got $1 million wide receiver in Cam Coleman. He's got $1 million wide receiver in Eric Singleton, and they can't seem to take much advantage of those guys because the guy at quarterback just can't be trusted to force down the field like the guy at Oklahoma. But Jeremiah Cobb can run it. We know Jackson Arnold can run it. And that, I think, is how they are going to win a lot of football games. It's going to look a lot like Texas spread with Vince Young if they're good. That said, it's still Oklahoma. You still are coming into, Owen Field, and Alabama figured out just how hard that is to do. I expect Auburn will too. But I'm going to be watching just how uncomfortable Jackson Arnold is, and I expect John Mateer to keep playing quarterback like he plays shortstop, which is enough to give me heartburn.
Okay, at the top of the college football landscape, what'd you learn about Georgia and Tennessee from last weekend?
2 best teams in the SEC. That's what I came away with. There are a large number of Volunteer fans in Oklahoma, believe it or not, and I heard from a bunch of them. They were disappointed that they could not get this win done. And I'm going, maybe Max Gilbert can't show his face for a little while, the kicker, because he made that kick in overtime. They're going, you couldn't have done that 5 minutes earlier. I understand. But I also learned that Gunnar Stockton is a dude. Like, that's the underrated part of that game. He had not played or started an SEC game. He certainly had not started one on the road. And he hadn't played at Neyland, where Rocky Top was absolutely rocking. 4th and 6, I'm expecting this guy to try to find a slant over the middle, maybe roll out, swing pass. No, he went for the gold. He threw it deep. He put it where only London Humphreys could catch it, and that dude made a play. If I learned nothing else about Georgia all year, I'll know the guy at quarterback can stand up, and I didn't know that about him before this game. Other side, Tennessee did everything they wanted to do except win the football game. Joey Aguilar got off to, I think, the best start anybody's ever had through 15 passes against a Kirby Smart defense, like 14 of 15, 213, 2 TDs, 0 interceptions. And the offense was running the way that we expected it to last year and how it looked when Hendon Hooker was at quarterback. It's just, can Bama get past Georgia if they get to this SEC championship? And I think right now, those are the two teams I think that are best in that league. And I think they could be on a collision course come December.
It's Doug Gottlieb Show here on Fox Sports Radio. What do we do with the rest of college football? And by that, I'm like, again, you know me, I'm an Oklahoma State alum. I'm a Big 12 guy. I love it. But I'm also a realist, and I realize that there is a drop-off between the SEC, Big 10, and everybody else, right? And everybody else. How do we adjust our eyes considering, you know, some of these teams haven't crossed over against the SEC and Big 10, and so the records don't reflect as much?
I love you, Doug, but I don't mind telling you that it's been more than 380 days since Oklahoma State last beat an FBS opponent. Good news is they play that FBS opponent on Friday, and they should be able to get on the board. I don't think TU is any good. They celebrated like they won the Super Bowl after beating Abilene Christian, and they got smoked by New Mexico State. They got smoked by Navy. So there's that. But if you're looking at Oklahoma State as one of these teams that I'm there. I'm there. If you're thinking about one of the Oklahoma State as being one of these teams that may not have what it takes to compete against the Big Ten, against the SEC, the top end of the ACC, I think that is a little short-sighted. I think that as long as you have a network television deal that is paying you competitively, not on par with the SEC or the Big Ten, obviously, but more than, say, you get paid in the American or you get paid in what the Pac-12 is going to be, you have a shot to get back into the swing of things. I think that, you know, when you and I were playing in college, we didn't care about the SEC. That was nothing to us. Who the hell's the SEC? And then all of a sudden, 2006, 2008, they take control of college football. And here lately, it's been the Big Ten. I think these things are cyclical. I think the only way that you're actually out of the game is if you don't have a network television deal that can help you. Look at Notre Dame. They've got that NBC deal, and they're competitive every single year. That's going to be the haves and have-nots. Who's playing on television? Who's playing on ESPN, Fox, CBS, NBC?
Deshaun Foster got fired 3 games into his second season. And full disclosure, Deshaun's a friend. We were actually high school basketball teammates. He's a freshman. I was a senior. But I mean, 3 games into his second year, holy cow, they pulled the ripcord. Virginia Tech, and what's crazy about UCLA is they haven't started school yet.
That people are doing their fiscal math now, and it ain't adding up if you want to compete at that level. I think Brent Pry was always on borrowed time. He hasn't gotten off to a great start in each of the last 3 years, and it was time for him to go. For Deshaun, I'm thinking you hired the guy that everybody liked, and that's usually not the guy that you should hire because, hey, we really love an alumnus as a head coach. We know his heart's going to be in it, but you were pretty damn good with Chip Kelly. They just didn't like it, and Chip Kelly didn't like it, so they parted. Now they get to wash their hands of what they think is perhaps an older way of having a head coach. Like when I think about how we're going to go into the cycle, you're going to be looking for, a guy that can coach, probably a rising coordinator. Will Stein is my top candidate for anybody. If they can lure him out of Oregon, I doubt it because he's in line for a big time job. But I think what it says about UCLA and Virginia Tech is they need to get on the ball right now. They know that with revenue sharing online, NIL been online for about 4 years now, give or take, and the money continue to go up. You need to have a head coach that is not only able to see around corners and coach the team, but that is built for what college football is becoming. And what you're learning is there aren't a whole lot of guys that came out as coaches that really want this job in the way that it has to be done now. Now, I'm with Kenny Dillingham, G.J. Kinney, Marcus Freeman, guys that are in their late 30s and are coming to be in our early 40s. And we're going, we didn't work this hard just to give up the job because they changed the rules. No, I want to be a head coach. And I think Deshaun wanted to as well. I think what happened there is you bet on Nico Iamaleava. It's a bad look because Joey Aguilar is balling out and you had that guy. So now we get to get you for evaluation. We get to say you don't know who your quarterback should be because you had a guy. And then you brought in a guy that they were happy to get rid of and you can't play now. That's, I think, really the ripcord there. And you lose to New Mexico in the way that New Mexico has basically reskinned Idaho Vandals. Yeah, they're going to have a problem with that. But now you get to go have a robust search and try to find somebody that fits UCLA, that fits Virginia Tech quicker than you might if you fired that person in December.
Okay. It's the #1 show. It's a podcast. You got to go check it out. Download it wherever you download podcasts. His name's RJ Young. He does a great job. He's our Fox Sports college football analyst. Again, it's the #1 show podcast on Fox Sports. RJ, really interested to see what happens in Norman this weekend. Thanks as always for being our guest.
Oh, thank you for having me, Doug. Have a good day, dude.
You too, bud. Let's get to